Hey, I play games that aren't Dead Cells sometimes. Dungreed. It is a Korean indie game, apparently crowdfunded, something I didn't realize until I saw the credits for the game. I don't know. You can see I've already had a decent amount of time in this one, and certainly a lot more even after this video was originally recorded. It's in the same vein as Rogue Legacy. You got platforming, you got whacking enemies with weaponry. You don't have quite the robust upgrade system or perks or anything like that, but you do have a lot more weaponry and varied types of enemies. I would say the game controls a lot better, and it also has this cool dashing mechanic and all this sort of stuff that you'll see pretty quickly in the tutorial. So anyway, the plot. You're an adventurer checking out this town that was followed up by this mysterious dungeon, whom, as I'm sure you've probably guessed, is named Dungreed. It's the titular dungeon. So anywho, you just start the game by going right in the middle of town, and kablamzo. Simple enough. Now, not too much that you can get, you can't really get a good bearing here right at the start, but yeah, if you look in the upper left corner, I have a 1 there because I am level 1, and I have 80 health because I have 80 health. Start out with like a little, well, usually it's a short sword later in the game. Yep, this game is kind of corny. As you can probably tell from that space button. So anyway, yeah, it's usually not that difficult to dash over that, but it's a little bit more difficult when you've been playing the game for 10 hours and then forget that you don't automatically start with 4 dash bars, which you can see in the upper left corner. That's a little blue things that refill. They just refill over time, so... And there is a certain amount of upgrading in the game. Levels, as I said, I'm level 1 right now, but as you get more levels, you can get various perks that allow you to attack faster, get more power, confer various benefits, and I go mostly in on attack speed and speed in general. Not that those are necessarily the types of weapons I use, ones that attack very fast, though I do get a couple of those. Yeah, I can't just ignore, what's his name, Yulford here? So, pretty much, I'll get into the various things that you get for upgrading everything, or getting levels, and the various type of weaponry you get, and blah, blah, blah. Obviously, Greatsword here is just a decent upgrade to your starting weapon, and not much more. But as it is, that is the tutorial. And every single time that you get out of the dungeon, you lose some gold, not all your gold, but some of it, and all the weapons that you got in there. You can get weapons to bring into the dungeon. It's part of the upgrade system in this game, which not only are you able to upgrade your character, you're also able to build buildings and towns that can confer onto you various benefits, usually along the lines of being able to bring stuff into the dungeon. That's about it. So aside from that, just gotta listen to Yulford continue to talk here. Tells you that there were a lot of dudes swallowed up by the dungeon, and you gotta go rescue them. There's usually a bunch of, there are a bunch of various areas in the game, and then you'll find at least, I don't know, one town member in each one of them. Which then you just talk to them, bring them back, and then you're able to build their building, which gives you something. You'll see. Yeah, I took my weapons in the freaking tutorial, well, the escape screen. It's not like I could do much there. Get used to that reticle being on screen, by the way. It's gonna be there always. Always and forever. This is a good gag. Alright, calm down there, Yulford. Alright, so right back into the dungeon then. Also, cute little point, they have little signs that say watch out for dungeon on the side of it, apparently. Alright, so, now into the dungeon proper. Level 2 of the dungeon. So the other thing is that upon beating bosses or building buildings for enemies, you also unlock a lot of different weapons. And even at the start, you're able to get some pretty powerful weapons right in the beginning here. For example, I get the Sword of Vine. I'll call him Vinny. And what this does is it inflicts enemies with a poison status and also hits them multiple times in a row. You saw that it had a gold-colored sort of nameplate on there. that means that it is a rare weapon, which means that the fact that that was the first chest that I opened up, chest spawn as soon as you finish rooms, that's kind of crazy that I managed to get a rare weapon immediately. And although I don't think it's the best one, the knockback alone kind of screws up a lot of the swings that you do with this weapon, but it does have some huge range, and the ability to do to hit enemies with poison is pretty useful. Altar is something later. Gotta go rescue some more townspeople before that becomes relevant or not. Pays to check the map a lot. It'll tell you if there are little healing fairies around, and it'll tell you if there are any various chests that you missed around the dungeon. So pretty much you get chests every single time you clear a room. There's 4 types of chests in the game. First one is just your basic like yellow chest. Second one is more of a, I don't know, wood chest. Third one looks like the one that Yuleford brought all of the short swords out of. Kind of like a trunk almost. And then there's also a 4th chest, a curse chest. Upon opening up the curse chest, I think there's a guarantee that you'll at least get a rare weapon out of it. But it will also maybe lower your maximum amount of health or summon enemies. 2 of the bigger skeleton dudes that you may have seen around here. Which, I don't know if you know, just first thinking a little bit about that, there's one outcome that's clearly better than the other. Lowering your max HP is pretty severe. Also get like a little tiny inn inside of a huge dungeon, which is, I don't know, weird. Anyway, this is how you get stats in the game. It only lasts for the dungeon, but as soon as you get these stats in the dungeon, you get them for the entire dungeon. So if you eat a food that gives you plus 10 power, for the rest of this particular run in the dungeon, you get to keep that food. And the satiation levels are, I mean, you only get up to 100. Oh, here's the first person to rescue. You only get up to 100, and it clears as, I think it clears out 2 after you beat a room, and like 1 for every enemy you beat, something like that. I don't know. We'll be seeing more of Koblovonia later. Whatever their name is. But yeah, I would say that hitting up the food shop early and hitting up the food shop often to try to maximize the amount of stats you get is paramount to your success in the dungeon. Well, this is pretty easy. Milia, shopkeeper. She sells stuff to you in town. And Koblovonia allows you to train and utilize the levels that you get for failing in the dungeon. Or completing the dungeon. I don't know, maybe you're really good at this game. Yeah, there are a whole lot of options that you can get in the food shop too. It's maybe the most interesting place in the game, I would say. Or at least that's in my opinion. Because pretty much what you gotta do is that's where you choose, like, okay, how do you spend the satiety levels and to get the most amount of stats or the stats that you want or whatever. And there are some ways to kind of finagle around getting a good mix-up of stats in the game, I would say. I certainly have my own methodologies associated with that, but I will get into that a little bit later. Overall, like I said, pretty much what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're always having your satiation levels used for something. There's always at least 1 food shop and then 1, you know, buy something shop. For example, I got 5 defense there from eating that, but now my satiation is at 62, and that's usually not enough to get a lot of things. There are some pretty helpful ones that most things are about 40 or so. There's one that's 50 and a couple of them that are like 20 or whatever. Again, certainly a lot of stuff to be said about that. There's also one other shop that appears in every single floor of the dungeon that gives you it's a shop. Wow. Not only was it enough to get 1 rare weapon, but I got 2 rare weapons there. As you can see, they're making pretty short work of any enemy I'm coming across. That's mostly going to be a thing for the first dungeon rather than, you know, later in the game. But hey, whatever works, man. Yeah, there is also a second just regular shop. You buy items in there. Whatever the items appear. Ran by this guy, Croc, who looks like, you know, what if Human Bender managed to survive his ordeal in that episode of Futurama and decide to go run a shop in some sort of magical dungeon. But anyway, yeah, he sells you stuff, and he will also buy stuff from you. You just right-click on any item, and it will say, do you want to sell for X amount of money? Since I don't need 2 Swords of Vine, this is already a 2-handed item, I can pretty safely sell that to him. Yeah, dashing around enemies and learning their basic pattern. For example, all these red bats will shoot fire at you. Regular purple bats don't shoot fire at you. But regular purple bats I don't think can attack at all, but large purple bats will shoot fire directly at you. Yeah, pretty much you want to clear out rooms in the dungeon to, 1, lower your satiation level so you can get more stats, and 2, try to get more treasure and money or more items or whatever. Anyway, that was the first 2 levels, so here's the first boss. Belial, Guardian of the Prison. He's really not too much special. Also, as you can see immediately, that is totally just an attack from Kidder from Rogue Legacy. Like, Kidder did that exact same attack. Nothing too much to say here. His hands will shoot beams occasionally, and you can just jump up or down or dash through them if you have the ability to be invincible while dashing. That's a later thing that you can get from being leveled up. When he shoots out those swords, you just kind of go left, right, left, right. And then when he does the Kidder attack, what you do is you just, go around in a circle. Or if you have that invincibility through dashing, which is, as you can probably guess, is going to be something that I'll be getting pretty soon. Just dash right through him. He doesn't have a huge amount of health, and after every single boss, you get a fairy that gives you an 80 heal. So I'm pretty much back up to full health as soon as I beat this dude anyway. He's also an enormous target, so it's certainly not too difficult to hit him. Oh yeah, I suppose there is also a 5th type of chest, the boss chest. Skeleton King's Sword. It's just a big sword. It does damage. I don't really like it all that much, but hey, I mean, it's something. I guess it would be one of the swords that he summons to throw at you during one of his attacks there. So I don't know. Oh, so first boss down into the second area, the icy cave. It's icy. It's a cave. There's no real ice mechanics in here, thank God. But you can get slowed by enemies if you're getting hit by their, icicles that they're summoning. For example, that skeleton mage dude. A lot of this game, I would say, is really predicated around moving around quickly and kind of, to dodge enemy attacks. So as long as you're kind of continuously moving, you're safe-ish? I don't know. Man, these bison are so annoying because they don't, start attacking you until you hit them, and then they'll charge immediately into you. Actually, the best way to attack them is to swipe at them with a sword and at the same time dash kind of upwards or through them if you have the particular perk to be invincible while dashing. I cannot overstate how good that is, by the way. Yeah, skipping past Herentia's... I think that's her name, I don't know. Dialogue there. Whoops, sorry. I tried to make it, because yeah, something different to say every time you come into a biome for the first time and talk to her. Croc is Croc. He talks pretty much the same regardless of where he's at. With his 2 turntables and a microphone. Yeah, there are actually 4 different types of fairies in the game. You got your little tiny ones that are worth 10 health that'll occasionally appear after you break a barrel or finish a level. You got a slightly larger one, which is 20, a slightly larger one than that, which is worth 40, and then you got the largest one, which is worth 80, which you get after every single boss. And you can also occasionally get from a room. Things are just randomly done. Although your fancier and larger chests have a better chance at dropping something of higher rarity, you can get anything of any rarity from any level of chest. And the sort of chest you get is entirely random after you finish a room, so whatever. And you might notice that I am skipping past a lot of money. Because, whatever, man. Do you want to watch me, just go and collect every single individual coin? Nah. Worry about the pounds and pennies will worry about themselves. Besides, a lot of the money that you can get in the game is actually through selling stuff to Crocs, so whatever. You don't need too much money. in the game, I usually find. And the other thing is that, I mean, and especially as of right now when you can't use those altars, and the only thing you can do with weapons that you're not going to be using is sell them to Croc. Yeah, Sword of Vine is a fine weapon, but really, if I could get just about anything else... Oh, I'll point out when I get my favorite type of weapon in this game, which you will be seeing twice through this very video. Let me just make that clear right now. Get 4 slots for items here. The two of the slots, the ones that I have that look like little pillars, increase my power, which is a percentage-based increase of the base damage of your weapon, blah, blah, blah. You hit harder. And then one that increases my critical, and one that I think is just defense. Usually I go for more defense, unless it's a really huge power increase. Damn, that bison is really going. Unless it's a really huge power increase that you get from one of the accessories. Usually I'm more about letting the weaponry do the damage, and the accessories do the accessorizing. No, and the accessories do the defense. Pretty much when it comes to this game, when you're checking your... Ooh, Bloodstone's ring's pretty nice. I think it's every time you kill 10 enemies, you get 5 HP. Because you don't only heal... Well, you only heal consistently after bosses... Oh, Silver Ring, that's health and just a slight amount of defense. Honestly, probably could have kept the, I mean, even though it did lower my maximum health by a little bit, I think it would have probably been worth it to keep that. Hey, already blowing through the game here. So here you got the Haken? Yeah, get out of here. Let's use this homeward bone, go back. Yeah, Haken, he gives an item to you if you build his building, which can be, like, any item in the game, but it is free and you just get it. So that's cool. Yeah, you don't really get to see a whole lot of what these enemies do because I'm just murdering them so quickly. But like, yeah, Ice Wizard there will summon ice that shoots in 6 directions, up and then upper left and down left, up right, bottom right. The Siren there will shoot out notes which are irritating. Usually you want to kill her before she can do anything. Bison I already talked about. Yeah, you always want to break boxes just in case you get one of those. And pick up all the items you can so you can sell them. But yeah, you can see it's all fairly simple, but this game can be very difficult because, again, you don't have any sort of consistent heals unless you want to waste some of your satiation at the food shop getting some heals there. I usually try to avoid that as much as possible. You get particularly lucky, you know, and find some fairies in boxes or after the room is complete or whatever. Or you beat a boss. I mean, if you beat a boss, that's a 80 heal right there, but hey, good luck fighting some of these bosses on their first go. They can be pretty tough. Except for one of them. One of them is a total punk. Yeah, I actually opted to get a heal there because, man, I would rather not die on my first foray into the dungeon if I could at least help it. Even though, and with these rooms, yeah, there aren't a whole lot of different rooms in the game, chunklets as I would call it in Dead Cells, so you generally get pretty used to like what everything is in this particular area. For example, there's a bunch of bone dogs in this one, and then one ice wizard on the bottom, and then one of the bison in the middle of the room. You know, watch out that you don't step on those spikes for too long, otherwise you're gonna be getting hit. And hit pretty hard and pretty irritatingly. Long staff. I'm a big fan of that. You just hold down the attack button and you twirl that thing around like a baton. It's really consistent damage, and all you have to do is just be next to enemies to be able to hit them constantly. Oh, equip up that Charm of Power. You don't need your health that much. But hey, at least I can afford the Bloodstone Ring now. Yeah, since enemies do not have contact damage, with the exception of some of the, like, ghost ones, those dudes, if I would leave them alive for more than 5 seconds. Not too effective on the bison. As you can see, I'm kind of figuring out right now. I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have sold that sort of... Maybe I shouldn't have sold Vinny. Just switch back to the short sword quickly to take this dude out. It's an alright item, too. Gives you more movement speed. But yeah, pretty much the twirling batons are some of my favorite in the game, just because enemies mostly don't have hurt boxes when you're just touching them. It makes it really easy to do a ton of damage just kind of positioning yourself on them and then running away before they can attack. More healing. I need that satiation for stats, man. I'm gonna regret that later. I mean, there's pretty little chance that I'm going to beat the next boss anyway. But hey, let's check it out anyway. Nibbelane, the Ice Witch. She's got these 4 ice walls. Can summon icicles from the ceiling, and pretty much the 4 ice walls will just go around the various parts of the level and, well, shoot out ice at you. And you need to defeat each one of those 4 ice walls to... Oh, yes, you can also destroy the projectiles by hitting them. But that's not super consistent, because if there's too many of them, you won't be able to hit all of them before they reach you. Really, I would suggest just dodging them. But yeah, you gotta destroy the 4 ice walls, and then she will be knocked out, and you can take out a quarter of her health, and then she'll get back up and attack you again. Oh, well, not the best run. Certainly, as much as I wanted to use the long staff, it probably would have been a bit more prudent usage of my resources to at least keep the Sword of Vine and not pitch it to try to get the Bloodstone ring there. But hey, live and learn, hanging on the edge of tomorrow. Anyway. Yeah, when you die, you just end up back in town. I just saved like 4 people in there. Got me some slack, my dude. And you can just go into the pause screen to warp directly to each one of the people in town. Training school is not only the only one that I can afford, it's also probably the best one to get, since I did just get a whole bevy of levels. Or I can just teleport to you, which would be way easier. Oh yes, and since I open up the building, get a whole host of different items here. And honestly, not a lot of very good stuff. Well, there's a couple things that are alright here, but for the most part, I would say these are weapons that I wouldn't really use. Birch Baton is just a straight upgrade to the long staff, so that's something. 20% max health ain't nothing to sneeze at, though, either. By the way, I don't think you get anything for dying while having that on there, so I don't know. That's also a pretty good one. That's a lot of critical. Yeah, the description for that Bloodstone charm seems like it would be, you know, something, but it's not. Was there ever any question? Greed was the other one that I was rolling with for a while. But Wrath, it's okay. I think the main thing that you get from that is more power. You can get up to like 30 power, or no, even more, like 50 power or something if you go all in on that. Invincible while dashing, and 4 dashes there. That's pretty great. Patience, whatever, I don't even care. Ooh, cheaper, big deal. I don't really use items that have cooldown time, so eh. Extra satiation, it seems like it would be tempting, and that's why I went with it originally. But I ended up switching over to more power, just because, yeah, I failed that one pretty quickly. Whoops. But anyway, like, I didn't even beat Belial in that one. But yeah, it seems like it might be good to get like extra gold and extra satiation, and it also increases your max health. But like, max health is actually pretty easy to increase by going to the food shop later in the game. And the gold drop doesn't really matter that much, since you can just sell stuff to Croc if you're short on gold, as long as you make sure that you remember to do that. And the extra satiation doesn't really matter, because satiation is consistent, that goes down between levels, so it's only really useful for the first time that you fill it up after that, and that's about it. Yeah, I think more power is good. Torch is a pretty nice item, actually. But you need to be using a one-handed weapon to actually be able to equip it, since it's in your offhand. And a lot of weapons I like to use are two-handed. Yeah, you might notice that first one is just is pretty much just straight-up Castlevania reference, I think. That's, Ring of Madness is really good. Mangosh also pretty good, but also offhand. But yeah, I think that's just a Castlevania reference, because the Excalibur or whatever, like, did pretty much the exact same thing in Symphony of the Night. Like, was the exact same look and everything. It does decent damage, but not amazing damage. Alright. After screwing around in the dungeon and having a couple pretty pathetic runs here, I actually got a decent one this time, so... Which I think this is the one that rides out most of the video from this point. Yeah, you get some decent damage from this. Oh, additionally, something I didn't mention is that when you dash through enemies while holding a melee weapon, if you have a ranged weapon, it doesn't work. But yeah, if you dash through enemies while holding a melee weapon, you do like dash damage to them. In fact, one type of weapon, spears, are entirely built around that. You get like pretty hefty bonuses for dashing through enemies when you have one of those equipped. However, since you have a pretty limited amount of dashes you can do per second, that's actually not as useful as you think it would be, and I mostly use it just to take out riffraff. I was thinking that was going to be like one of the bread and butter moves of mine, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna dash through enemies all the time, that'll be super cool, like that, for example. But then I'm like, wait a second, you can't really dash all that often, so sorry, spears, you're not my favorite anymore. Now bow staff's our best friend. Chain armor, more defense. Ain't nothing wrong with more defense. So what am I looking for here? Well, first off, any one of the staves would be great. Just a decent one-handed weapon. Gladius is pretty decent. It's just pretty much a straight upgrade for the short sword that you start the game with, and it's a basic melee attack, and it's also one-handed. In fact, there it is right there. Wow, it's almost as if I knew that was going to happen. And here's the first time that you can see that you get like a little ability. Some weapons come with abilities, and some offhands come with abilities. You can have both of them active at once if you want. What you do is you just hit Q, and then it has like I think the Gladius specifically will up your power for, I don't know, let's say 20 seconds or something, because I don't actually remember. What a difficult room. But yeah, those are the one contact damage enemies. But yeah, it up your power for a little bit, and then it has a cooldown of like 45 seconds or so before you can use it again. You mostly use it against enemies that you don't want to face, or bosses, whatever. Could go get a long staff there again, but is that really the best idea? Yeah, I can't actually sell the stone sword because you can't sell things that people give to you. The game insults you for that, in fact. So I'm sure it'll come up eventually because I don't remember who gave me what. So you can see that now that I'm glowing with sexual energy, I get a little bit of a power increase. It's not super hefty, but it's decent. Though, yeah, the sirens become much easier to take out when you... Ooh, nice. It's the first offhand, too. You can see me holding it. And I think that all the main ghost does is just give you plus 10 to power, which is like a plus 10% increase on the power of your weapon. I don't know. I would actually have to... Like, the stats in this game are not easy to determine. And all I know for absolute certainty... Yeah, I don't need that extra power. I'd rather have the extra defense that you get from this. Also, you can see now I can block everything for a couple seconds and increase my power. And there you go. There's my favorite weapon in the game. Nah, screw all this. But yeah, the stats are not... Like, the only stat that I know for certain is that you start to lose effectiveness on defense at about 40. So if you get to about 40 or so, don't put anything more in defense. Everything else, it's... Like, the stat screen is not super well translated either, so it's a bit hard to tell. Pretty much what I go for is mostly building a lot of critical in a lot of... Well, okay, so let's actually talk, like, the builds. I was like, nah, screw this. I'm just saving up for the L1 at this point. But, so yeah, let's talk builds. So, pretty much when it comes to the food shop, the first thing... Nice. The first thing that I usually get is defense and power. Because the foods that give you defense and power always give you plus 10 to power and plus 5 to defense. And that stays consistent throughout the entire game. Every other stat increases the farther you go into the dungeon. So right now you might get like, I don't know, a plus 3 critical for getting, I think it's lemonade. And then like later in the game, like in the last few areas, you get like plus 9 to criticals. So you can hold off on that. However, you never get plus more defense or plus more power, so getting that in the early game is, you know, better. Unless you happen to get like a really good roll on the lemonade, since it is random and it gives you plus 6 or something to critical, then you might want to consider grabbing lemonade. Especially too, because the power and defense increasing ones are all 40, whereas, by the way, you can just see how good this staff is just tearing through enemies, ripping all through your whole crew. But, yeah, defense and power are both 40, whereas, like, increase to the damage critical does is 20, whatever it's called. I don't actually remember what the food stuff is. And increase to critical rate is 30, so you can pack a little bit more in your gullet. But, it all comes down to what you want out of the game. I know some people build, like, evasion a whole ton, because if you build nothing but evasion in the game, I know that by the very end of it, you can actually get up to, like, about, I think 70% of all attacks miss you. But then if you get hit and you haven't been building defense at all in the game, or, like, increasing your maximum amount of health, and I mean, really, the fact that you can increase your maximum amount of health, which is why you go defense at first, and then when you get up to about 40, you go straight into increasing your maximum amount of health, and that's it. Like, yeah, so it's, you know, it's a trade-off. It's whatever you want to do. It's whatever you think works best for the build that you want to go for. That's what I would say. Yeah, Belial just being a big, huge skull sitting in the middle of the screen does not stand a chance. Really, I don't know why you can't over-satiate yourself anyway. I mean, look, am I the only person that has ever just, like, shoved an entire cupcake in my mouth and then pressed it in with my fist to make sure that I could fit it all down my throat? Actually, I probably am. So anyway, Belial, you gotta beat him every single time. You gotta beat every one of the bosses every time you come in the dungeon, but after you do it a few times, it's like, I didn't even take damage there. It was nothing. I don't even get to collect the fairy, because who cares? Man, I really like the art style for this game. It just looks really good overall. Other stuff to say about the food shop, because like I said, I think that is probably one of the more interesting things, because you're trying to figure out, okay, I'm going to try to, you gotta balance, all right, how much damage am I going to take exploring through these levels? Because I want to get that extra satiation, because I want to get the satiation levels down so I can eat more. And then combine that with, like, yeah, how greedy, how done greedy are you? Really? Oh, Assassin's Dagger, super short range, but I think it has high critical, so it's not bad, but, like, look at this weapon. Rare, so you know it's doing extra damage alone. And it's doing a lot of damage, period. There's no real downside to using this. I love this weapon a lot. You just run into enemies and they die. Just be like, hey, I'm your biggest fan, because it kind of looks like a fan. I don't know. But anyway, there are other things like increasing your movement speed, which, who cares? I would rather have damage or defense. Increasing the amount of gold you get. Well, I hope that satiation that you're wasting and the gold you're spending gets paid for by that. Especially when you know you can just sell stuff to Croc anyway. What else? Like upping the amount, like your critical will eventually tap out. So then upping the amount of damage your critical does becomes a super good. Yeah, dogs, pretty much the way you deal with dogs is you either kill them before they attack you, or as soon as they jump at you, then, or what you do is you kind of have them bait out their jump, and then you kill them. I would say that I usually go for critical, and then when it feels like I'm getting critical most of the time, go for extra damage on critical. And then start with defense, start with power, and then move right into getting maximum amount of health. Like I said, you could go for evasion. I think that's a perfectly cromulent way to play the game as well, but eh. But if you're going for like maximum amount of movement speed, I would disagree. But hey, who knows? It's however you want to play the game. It's the most customizable part of the game. Oh god, this is the one thing that doesn't work. When you're invincible while dashing, you just dash through the bison, and it's no problem at all. But when you're not, then, you know. Oh, hey, I think that's the one that gives you 20? Yep, cool. Yeah, whatever. I already have the upgraded version of that. But yeah, you gotta go back and forth, see how much satiation that you can get for yourself, and then try to spend that satiation in the smartest way possible. Honestly, I think that topping myself off of satiation is maybe not the best play in retrospect a lot of the time, because what I could be doing, because like I said, there is some randomness to the amount of stats that you get from each thing, but in general, you're getting more stats the farther you go into the game. So pretty much you always want to be above 0 satiation all the time, so you're always getting benefit from something. But then, like, save as much satiation as possible for later in the game so that you get increased amounts of stats. But then there's also a question of, do you need those extra stats right now, or can you wait until a little bit later? I think it's a cool dynamic in the game, and I think those are the questions that you have to ask yourself. I should have actually kept the Hawk Ring there. That gives you plus 10 critical, which is not a bad amount of critical. Especially because I don't have anything particularly good in the accessory slot right now. Ah, well. I think also building, well, swiftness, again, for that sweet, sweet invincibility while dashing, but also the power, so you don't have to worry about having a whole ton of power since you get that kind of passively from the first upgrade path that I've already forgotten the name of. I mean, that's at least the way to go for me. It's like, if you're going to ask, oh, come on, I don't need the move speed that much. You should have just stuck with more. Ah, whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Oh. But yeah, I would say that this run, just overall pretty good, except for my running into enemies for no particular reason. Nah, I don't know. Bomb pouch. When you dash, you leave down a bomb. It does damage to enemies. Whatever. I don't think it's that great. Again, certainly, there's a lot of... The big draw, I would say, in this game, because there's only one route you can go through the game, and you just go through each level, and there's not a whole lot of rooms in each level, but, like, the big thing with this game is kind of the variance on how do you want to play, especially because later on there is a gunsmith you can rescue, so you're getting, like, ranged weapons. And then you might, like, build up reload time, you might... This little delicate dance I'm doing here, and then I said, screw it, I'm just gonna tank it. Oh, that's gonna require that I need to heal at the food shop, and that way satiation points. But anyway, yeah, you can get, like, reload time, you can get, like, various items, various accessories to give you, like, cool reload stuff, too. Sweet reload tricks. So that's also definitely a way you can play the game as well. And there are also some items that you reload by dashing, which works super well in the current build that I'm rolling with. So, you know, I was asked, when I did like a brief stream of this last week, and I was asked, like, hey, so what do you recommend the game? Think the game's good? And I would say it is a little short. There's a little repetitiveness, but you know what? I actually had a lot of fun building a lot of crazy different builds with this. And, you know, figuring out what works, even if it did end up that I was fighting a lot of the same enemies over and over. This game overall, I would say, it's not like the million-hour festival of discovery that I have in Dead Cells or whatever, but God, it is just really fun to play, and I think getting through to the end of it's worth at least one go. If you're sitting here and you're like, man, should I just get this game and play it myself? I'd say yeah. Check it out. It's not even all that expensive. Also, I would say that just so you don't get spoiled on everything immediately, because I'm going to be covering, like, most stuff in 2 videos. So, if you want to at least leave some mysteries for yourself, don't go crazy watching the rest of the video right now if you're thinking you want to buy this game. L1 is not the best weapon for taking out... Oh yeah, it also has the ability to stun enemies. Doesn't even factor in. It's the constant damage while being next to enemies is the real draw. But it's not as effective on the little ice walls here because, you know, you are constantly having bullets coming out of those things. So you gotta have a little bit more finesse, so being a little bit more careful with it, certainly. Oh, there's where she summons the Nastrand, which occasionally you'll see a big red flash, and a spear will be coming through. It's not too difficult to dodge. Alright, only got one more round of this left to go, but then as soon as yep, this is it. This is the final stretch. There you go. And indeed, for beating her, you get the Nastrand, the very weapon that she summons when she gets about half HP. It's okay. I told you, I was super enamored with spears the first time I saw them, and then I quickly was less so. Also got cowhide armor from the chest, which is a pretty decent get. I think it's pretty good. It's a defense and I think a little evasion. Doesn't affect your movement speed. Alright, the jungle. Lizardman Town. Any UFO conspiracy theorists will be very excited to learn about the orgone accumulators and free energy that they have to offer us. I mean, I love those orgone accumulators. They make you feel greater. But anyway, so the deal with this area is... Oh, there's one of the more rarer chests. Didn't give me anything good, though. So the deal with this area is that, yeah, you got the lizardmen here, and the lizardmen all have their own, like, little attacks. Usually they're dashing at you or throwing spears, or they have, like, the big heavy armor so you can only hit them in the back. Yeah, see, now I'm learning that you want to actually use that. But the other thing is that there are some areas that when you go in front of the, like, big hollow trees that are, like, I don't know, they're residential living areas or something. Also Liliths. Ugh. Yep, if they get near enough to you, they'll grab onto you and kiss you. And I mean, like, kissing girls? Ugh, gross. But also it does damage to you. But yeah, there are areas, they're like hollow trees that when you get to them, they will, like, start up a whole second round of combat. Another way that you can lower your satiation, which is super cool, that's helpful. And it will also spawn another chest, but it is also another wave of enemies you need to fight. So, if you see, like, a big open... a tree like that has, like, a big open there, you might not want to walk in front of it if you don't want to summon a whole bunch of lizards to come and attack you. So it's kind of a give and a take. There's a risk and there's a reward there. Oh, and by the way, cursed chests do not appear after you finish a room. They have to be one of those rooms where you just find a chest that's unguarded entirely. That's the only place that you can find a cursed chest. And frankly, I would say it's always worth opening them up, but if you're really thinking, like, I don't want to lose max HP, it's, yeah, it might be worth it to not do that then. Various lizard types are ones that just come up and punch you, ones that try to stab you. The shaman ones that will put an invincibility shield over some of them. Obviously the shield bearers, which are very, very irritating because they have a huge amount of damage reduction if you're hitting them from the front. Spear throwing ones, which will, well, I mean, throw spears at you. Which are pretty annoying because they can... Oh, that's actually another thing the lizards do. They will not attack you until they notice that you're next to them. You'll notice that they have, like, a little exclamation... Ah, damn it! Pro tip if you're on YouTube. If you pause the video and you hit period or comma, you will advance forward 1 frame in the video if you want to see what Horentius had to say. Sorry. I'm so used to going through these areas. But anyway, there's also poison around here, which will poison you, does like 1 damage over time for like 5 times. Snakes will also poison you, but don't really move or anything, so It's pretty hard to get poisoned by them. As well as, what are they called? Rafflesia flowers? The big poisonous flower things that, you know, are in East Asia that I've never seen before, that they will shoot out poison too. So kill them quick or get away from them before they explode in poison. Charm Madness could be decent. I mean, ain't nothing wrong with getting that little extra power. That necklace, for example, is only giving me plus 10% to health? Ah, yeah, here's one of the areas. If I went in the middle there, I would summon a whole bunch of lizard men, but I would also get another chest, and obviously lower some of my satiation. But do I want to? I obviously decide not to, but I could have there. But, oh yes, did I say, the lizards will have an exclamation point appear above their heads when they see you, and before that, they won't actually attack you. So, you can get a lot of sneak attacks in on them if you want. It's especially good for, like, the spear-throwing ones. Not invincible while dashing it. It's especially good for the spear-throwing ones because they will not throw spears at you, and because they have, you know, eagle eyes and will pinpoint accuracy throw spears at you, it's actually not too bad to maybe not activate those guys for as long as possible. Do I want to go in the middle there and fight a bunch of lizard men? I mean, honestly, at this point, I totally would, but I cannot remember if in this video... No, I guess I decided not to. Nope, too late, motherfucker. Oh, right, not swearing. Whatever, I don't monetize these videos anyway. Oh no, ghosts. I mean, they do contact damage, so I maybe want to not run head first into them to hit them with my dealio, but hey, they're not really all that threatening either way. Oh, watch is decent. You get some evasion, which you get the chance to just, you know, nullify. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I actually explained what evasion does. You just nullify attacks. It just says evade, and you take no damage. Oh, yes, like the war chief type lizards. They will give buffs to other lizards to make them more powerful or something? I don't know. I usually don't leave them alive too long enough to figure out what exactly it does. It has them glow with sexual energy like you do with the Gladius, so I would rather not have that happen if possible. Spiders spitting out poison everywhere, which I still got hit by anyway. It's a pretty minimal amount of damage, but it's still damage that I'm taking for no real reason. Bleh. Yeah. Didn't want to fight those lizardmen, did ya? Do a full clear to see if I can get like a little extra healing from Herencha's place. Try not to go in the middle of that tree so I don't summon stuff. Oh, hey, it's Rosen! Yes, Perinu, the god or goddess, I'm not entirely sure because the translation is kind of funky. It says him here, and then they say her when you're talking to Rosen later, and who knows. Pronouns, not quite the same thing in Korean. Or at least I don't think so. If you've been following the channel, I'm more familiar with Japanese either way. So although I can recognize some of these sentence structures, I don't know. Let's just go with that. Alright, 9th floor. You know what that means? Boss. It's Tunok, leader of the Lizardmen. King of the Lizardmen. I don't see a crown on him. Alright, Tunok's big deal. He does a lot of stompy attacks. He will stomp and do big shockwaves. He'll try to hit you with his Savage Axe. He'll hit the wall. When he hits the wall, that will drop bombs everywhere. When he points at you, that will drop spears directly on you. He'll shout occasionally and summon dudes. Overall, he's not too threatening as long as you keep moving and pay attention for when he hits the wall to summon the bombs on you. Really, his most threatening thing is he'll go into his melee attacks. Watch out for them bombs. He'll go into his melee attacks. His axe swings pretty quickly, and that's the most threatening attack that he has. Also, his summoning, if you're not very well equipped to deal with shield bearers or kill spear throwers very quickly. But aside from that, not too bad of a boss. I'd say he's more of a punk than, like, Nibelheim, certainly. Savage Axe. It's slow, but it's powerful. And obviously doesn't have very good dash damage. Honestly, don't use it very much. But yeah, I wouldn't say he's the most threatening boss. I think Nibelheim's probably more threatening. But the one in this upcoming area, the Magma Land. Which, by the way, if you just want to throw on the hell theme from Health theme from Spelunky, I think that would be entirely appropriate for this area. Got upgraded dogs there. Cerberus as well as... Oh god, I actually know the name of the two-headed dog. It starts with an E. I don't remember. But yeah, you get upgraded versions of your basic skeletons that shoot stuff at you and try to hit you with swords. The summoning skeleton here, instead of summoning a bunch of ice at you, what he will do is he will summon a big rune, which will do an enormous spray of fire with pretty short range, but hey, watch out for it anyway. And you can hit him to break that and kind of like interrupt his concentration or whatever to stop him from murdering you with that. Hey, I remembered to not skip and pass this immediately. That's right. Oh, it's not Herencia. It's Horerica? I don't know. So anyway, the shopkeep, yeah, is apparently a powerful mage that has a bunch of images of herself all over the place to serve food. I would say Magma Land's a pretty big jump up in difficulty. For example, these sirens will warp around, making them more annoying to hit you. These imps will jump around, dodge all of your attacks, while also throwing fireballs at you. Upgraded dogs. Dogs can be pretty tough too, so the less time you spend in this area if you don't know how to fight these dudes, the better. Oh, those plants will summon bombs to explode on you and then run away from you. Oh, it's all horrible. So I decided to just spend as little time in here as possible and go right for the boss. Did I lose out on some stuff? Yeah, but here's Envy Rock. Little Lord of Devil. Difficult. Very tough guy to fight if you don't know his patterns. He'll jump up there, shoot 4 fireballs out in directions. He will summon these magma. Also would help if I didn't keep getting hit by stuff. He will summon these magma, I don't know, snakes to shoot fireballs at you passively for like 4 or 5 salvos or something. Summon these guys, which I think if you leave them alive long enough will do damage. Dash across the screen. Obviously, he will summon big pillars to try to smash you, which is very irritating. Honestly, his... oh, yes, and when he finishes an attack, he'll usually reappear where he last was, unless he uses his big smashing blocks attack, which then you need to... He'll reappear in the middle of the arena. Really keeping on him is probably the best way to deal with his stuff, and just stay away from him when he does that fireball attack. I was being a little ballsy here, a little bit more than I probably should, to get the maximum amount of damage in there, but hey, it worked out in the end, so whatever. Yeah, he's a character that I would say, keep on him. Like, you know, I'm gonna know he's gonna respawn in the middle of the arena, so try to get as many attacks in on him as possible right at the start there. And again, I would not go directly to him, but hey, if you know where he's coming from, it's worth it. It works. His dash attack is probably the easiest one to actually punish him for, because, you know, all you gotta do is basically jump up and then jump down, and then you can attack him wherever he last was. But yeah, that's Envy Rock. Not too bad if you know what you're doing. Red Dragon Killer. It's the sword version of Nastron. Gives you burn attack damage. It's pretty good. I like it. Got a good Q there too. But yeah. If you lose to Envy Rock, I would not blame you. He's a tough customer when you first start fighting him. So we got the forest, which is a pretty far cry from the last area. But it's no ordinary forest, it's the robot forest, filled with robots. Robots tend to take a lot more damage than other enemies. While I would say the main thing with the... Well, I would say the main thing with, like, the Magma Lands is that enemies aren't very powerful, but... Well, I mean, are very powerful, but don't have a whole lot of health. Robots, on the other hand, are pretty predictable and pretty easy to dodge their stuff. They also have pretty limited range, but they take a lot more damage. Watch out for them. Oh! Hey, it's a Fiat. Well, there's creatures that aren't human everywhere. I don't know if there's any creatures anywhere. Anyway, he's the gunsmith. He will smith guns for you. He'll also provide you with a free gun, much in the same way that the blacksmith will provide you with a free item occasionally. Now that I've rescued Rosen, I should be able to use those altars. But whatever, I'll get to what those do soon enough. There are a few pretty tough enemies in here, but surprisingly enough, they aren't the robots themselves that I would say are the toughest ones to actually fight. It's the non-robotic type enemies. And also here's where the food shop starts really popping off with the amount of stats that you get at each point here. I would say that if you're looking to really stack up... Yep, here are the non-robot enemies I'm talking about. These dogs, they're very fast, and then when they dash at you, they'll do a big, huge explosion of electricity, which is dangerous. So watch out for those guys, and then there's one other enemy that I'm sure I'm going to be seeing pretty soon here. But yeah, the food shop gives you a lot of stats for each food stuff that you get. So if you're looking to really start stacking up on some major critical increases, now's the point in time to do it. Get out of here, Lilith. Yeah, those big leafy type things that walk around, all they do is just occasionally hit you with a big electricity blast, but it's a pretty big electricity blast. Here's also the point where I would start to suggest, plus 25 HP, that's an enormous increase on what I got right now. So big stats, big boy stats here. And since I don't want to lose too much health, even though I am losing out on some satiation, I just go into the next area. You know, as imposing as that giant bomb dropping thing is up there, it actually doesn't have a whole lot of health. And for some reason makes the same sound as bats when it dies, so I don't know. Well, that was quick. I guess we speed running through this? I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, I'm not too worried about this upcoming boss because Slime Maker, first off, adorable sprite work. Look at the little slime using the controller up there. But yeah, he's a total punk. Maybe the easiest boss in the entire game. You can just walk up here and tank it and tank damage. I do have some runs where I do fight the slime boss, or the slime maker more legitimately, but this one, nah, screw it. I got the defense, I got the health. Just gonna walk into him. I mean, it's pretty obvious what you do. You just jump up and down on the various conveyor belts to dodge everything. It's especially easy when you're invincible while dashing, so that you don't have to worry about getting hit by explosions or the pointy slimes. But yeah, total punk enemy. And of course, as befitting him being a big, huge robot enemy, you get a lot of guns from it. Shotgun's fine. Rocket launch is fine. MTI carbine is fine. You get a lot of attacks per second. And scatter bullet I never use. I don't think that's very good. Damage decreases, whatever. So I get more what? Terrible. So yeah, some guns have joined the shootout in Enter the Gungeon parlance. Moonlight Desert. Oh yeah, we in there now. This is, I think, the last major area you go through. So, also, there was the first time that I actually got an evasion. Hooray. These enemies are pretty dang tanky and have big attacks and have powerful attacks. This place is kind of a nightmare, the Moonlit Desert. The first time you come here, it's just horrendous. Good luck is what I'd say. These Jiangshi are not very easy because they have some pretty, let's say, aggressive tracking when they're jumping on you, so if you don't have the invincible while dashing thing, you are kind of out of luck unless you know to stay pretty far away from them. Watch out for that little assassin guy in the cape. His entire MO is that he just jumps above you and does a pretty sweet drop kick directly on your head, which is not great for me, because that's not very easy to dodge at the current point in the game, as you can see. Also, the knight there, super tanky. There, geez, thanks for the health. Thanks for the meager amount of no health. So yeah, these enemies are dangerous. Once you learn their patterns, they're a lot less so, but god, they're oof. Like I said, the first few times you see them, they're just horrible to fight. I don't actually know what they're called. I'm sure they're called Moonlight Knights or something, but there's no bestiary in the game. You only learn what enemies are called when you die to them. So, hey. I don't know, something to think about. What is it, Team Hooray that developed the game? Oh, these guys. Yes, glowing with power there. They'll shoot out shots at you when they notice that you exist. And they are like some huge scatter shot, spread shots, and for some reason robot dogs here. I thought that was more of a last area type of thing. But yeah, the huge shots that will go all across the screen, just shooting out bullets everywhere. Like, don't even mess with those guys. Take them down as quick as possible. And hey, look, it's all of the freaking summoners in the game. There's a huge fire spray that you can get hit with. And Skullomania on top there is a necromancer that will summon random skeleton enemies that you would see earlier in the dungeon just constantly until you kill him, if he sees that you exist. Also, it will really help if I stop getting hit by a bunch of spikes here too, you know, just in general. Oh man. Just give me my prize and I'm out of here. Gonna have to be wasting all of my satiation slots on healing for this one. Which, oh well. Pretty good run overall, though. Ugh. A little extra money, not that it does me all that much good, but I only rescued Rosen in this very run, so don't really get too much to do there. Yeah, it's pretty much a mad dash for the exit, I would say, in at least in this current incarnation of the Moonlit Desert, because I am, let's say, ill-prepared to deal with these enemies here. Oh yeah, those guys, which are kind of the, like, alternate version of the glowing guys that summon stuff. Those guys regenerate health, so keep on them, and then they will just summon, like, big black balls of, I don't know, evil energy around, which just randomly around them while they're regenerating health. So I would say they're kind of a first priority type of enemy to deal with. Additionally, those big ghosts around there, we know those punk ghosts earlier in the game that I was just like, who even cares? They do contact damage. They got much more health and they'll teleport around after you hit them once. It's just a nightmare in this area. Which makes sense because it's nighttime. And by makes sense, I mean, I don't know what I mean. Oh, hey, and remember those big ghosts I was talking about? Oh, melee weapon's not the best thing to deal with these guys here, especially something that does a lot of very small hits over time. Nah, you want to, like, carry at least one big sword just so you can deal with those guys in here. Because they'll do a lot of damage to you if you're trying to roll with this sort of weapon when you get to the Moonlit Desert here. Moonlit Desert. Yeah, bows, whatever. Got those regenerating and summoning guys here, as well as one of the, I don't know, improved sirens. Let's just call it a Banshee. Because I don't know what the proper name is. And you can see they're starting to summon their corrupted orbs around. Which, if you get hit by those, that starts to become an issue pretty quickly. And you can see hanging out there is one singular Laparca, which, I mean, it's not too big of a deal. I can deal with, you know, some basic bone enemies around here, but if I don't have to, I would rather not. Alright. I would honestly say that the Dark Wraiths are probably some of the least threatening enemies that you can find around here, so leaving those guys alive are kind of like the lowest priority if there's other dudes to, you know, beat, as it were. Also, yeah, I never really mentioned the stuff that kind of forces you into areas, but they are just super adorable little smiling blocks. I guess, you know, they are like the harbingers of Dungreed. And they look like they're having a really good time. I can appreciate that. There, I finally realized, well, maybe I should have something to do with those big ghosts. Yeah, idiot. Big Knight there should be pretty self-explanatory. The giant explosion he does there is just something to get you next to him. And dealing with two of the Jiangshi while he's also, you know, forcing your movement irritatingly. Well, I mean, hey, where do you think I died in this run? I started to get it a little bit, but then the Jiangshi got out of sync. So great. Rest in peace. Called a Gangshi here. All right, sure. A lot of levels. Dang, that was a pretty good run, though. I mean, all things considered. Could have probably beat the game on that one if I did a little bit better building with criticals, or with, like, getting extra criticals, extra damage, like, not getting hit stupidly so much. Ah, well. The Peranu Temple. Definitely one that I want to get here, but I don't think I have the cash money to do so. Yulford. What's it gonna run me? Yep. Just out of it. Just out of my price range. Oh well. And also skipping through the fire dungeon meant that I kind of lost out on one of the other people that I could have rescued there, so that's not going to be coming until, what, next video, I think? Jeez. Spend all those sweet, sweet levels. One away. One. Also, you might notice that there's an assortment of freaks and geeks like Antlerman there, which I assume are because this was a crowdfunded game, so that you get some, like, you know, backer rewards kind of hanging around town now. Alright, get Rosen's temple back up here. Sacrifice a weapon to receive a new weapon. And by sacrifice a weapon, they mean sacrifice, I don't know, roughly 50,000 weapons. But you can get some pretty good stuff out of it. That's a really good accessory. Take that every time you see it. I mean, it's fine. No, get out. Get out of here. I do not want to be constantly jumping. Oh, you'll see that item in the next video. It's a weapon. Let's just say that. So yeah, you see the little bar there? The goddess herself. I thought it was a him. I guess you can't see me shrug there. But yeah, you learn that the thing that allows you to leave the temple... I don't know what the clothes are even supposed to be. Whatever. Anyway. But yeah, you sacrifice weapons on those various altars that you see in the dungeon. And better weapons, you know, rare items or whatever, are worth more praise in the eyes of Peranu. And then when you fill up that bar, I mean, you can get weapons at just about any time, but you get better weapons if you fill up that bar more. And I think you, like, get a guaranteed legendary weapon if you fill up that bar fully. So if you're not selling items, I would recommend definitely sacrificing them. Like, if you don't have enough money, go and sacrifice as many of those items as you can so that you can get a rare or legendary weapon later on. Alright, here's a much better run than I had going on. Same weapon here, but look at how much more damage, look at how much more health I have. I obviously hit 20 in the meantime after a couple stupid failed runs, which I didn't accomplish anything. If I accomplished anything, you would see it in the video. And it's like, so I have invincible while dashing now, and a little extra power from going the first tree. And hey, I unlocked a costume. What's a costume? Oh right, I didn't rescue that NPC. Don't worry, you'll see it later on. That's for, I think, eating 15 items in one run. There's only like 2 unlockable costumes, so hey, there's one of them. Yeah, much better health, much better damage, you can see already, because I've been building critical, and I think critical damage? For some reason it's called critical rate. I have enough money, because I think at this point I have a full bar on Paranu's Shrine, so I don't even need to sacrifice anything, and I don't really need money at this point, so hey, whatever, who cares? Ripping through these enemies that were giving me such huge trouble. I mean, and I think that's really a testament to how much more powerful you can get if you aren't spending all of your satiation on healing, as well as, you know, like planning out a decent build ahead of time so you know what you're going to be ordering from the food shop each time you go to it. I mean, also just if you have a more powerful run, you're able to explore more areas and you're able to relieve yourself of more satiation, and then you're able to spend that satiation getting more stats. Got 2 rocket launches there. Do I need to do this? Absolutely not. Also, see, using that charm of power there. I knew that I would eventually come around to it because I have already recorded this video. And really the entire series. And by series, I mean 2 episodes, because this is going to be 2 episodes. Yeah, I'm totally fine on health, so I might as well do a full clear of everything, get as much satiation as possible. Gargoyles! Yeah, there's one. Yeah, gargoyles only appear even like somewhat commonly in this area, but there is one area in the very first, in the prison, the very first area of the game that can contain a gargoyle, which is a little kind of cute thing to do, I think. Yep, pretty much just grind out the rest of the rooms so that I can get as many stats as possible from the food shop. I mean, if you are sick of seeing the L1, or however you pronounce that, I do, the later episode, or, well, the second episode is going to contain a whole bunch of different runs. Oh, don't you worry. Including the red scythe, or whatever it's called, which is, that's an item, let's just say that. A lot of the legendary items in this game are, well, a lot of the rare items and legendary items in this game, but especially legendary items, have a, like, they have a huge benefit, but they also have a huge downside. There are some of them that are just, you know, good, but there are some of them that are also, like, weird. And I'll show off a few of them later on. Nah, nothing else in here to get. So, one more check to see if I can afford any other anything. And yeah, extra evasion, sure, why not? I mean, not that I think that like, dodge builds are, you know, I'm willing to bet that I am totally undervaluing dodge and that it's, like, totally the easiest way to actually complete the game, but I think just going for high health and high defense is more reliable. Although you can get high defense and high health, you know, even without specifically building for that, whether it's through having, like, a powerful shield or a few good charms along with that. But, yeah, that was disconcerting. I'll just go for the boss, you're totally fine. Well, I mean, at least I know that myself right now would be able to totally beat the next boss coming up pretty easily. He is a rough, again, much like the first time you fight Envy Rock, he is a tough customer, the upcoming boss, I'll say that. But once you get used to his mechanics, even though I think some of them are a little cheap, he's not too bad. Of course, we'll get to that later. Dwarven armor, fantastic pick. Totally worth grabbing if you find that. Gargoyles. Again, this game's art style is super cute, I love it. Yeah, if that's a trap and a half, I don't think I will be going down there. Because I am starting to lose a little more health than I'm comfortable with, even if I do have a pretty good run going on here. Yeah, you might be like, well, shouldn't I be looking at the actual stats to see? Nah, I don't care. To make sure that I'm not wasting satiation on healing. Nah, if I'm going healing, I'll just go all the way. There's that cluster shot that the glowing hooded figures use, which, man, that is rough to dodge, especially if you don't have invincibility while dodging. Or, while dashing, I mean. Taking down quick. Yeah, those swords are pretty easy if you just use a dash attack through them and you have the invincible while dashing thing. Again, it's like I think it's pretty obvious why I'm pretty enamored with that particular route to take in stat builds. No surprise there. Just a couple more areas to check out. Not that I think there's anything I really need. Yeah, just look at how much quicker I'm dealing with these regenerating guys. Yeah, you only improve, like, weapons have set stats. It's not like Dead Cells where you get better weapons as you go deeper in. It's just whatever you can pick up, and I think that's why it's worth going and checking out, like, Croc's wares, just in case he has something of there's something that's particularly good. Hey. Something that's particularly good, so you don't always have to rely on whatever you get from chests or whatever. Obviously, again, also worth like picking up like every single chest as well. Because you never know what's going to be in them. You might find a legendary item in just a regular old nothing chest. That happens. There is actually... I could have actually went and gotten more critical damage, which would have been the best pick there, but I think I just was like, whatever, let's just finish this up here. All right. Floor 18. It's Leslie! Captivity of the Dark Sword! The corrupted hero! He kind of looks like you, a little bit. Yeah, so, wielding the Soul Calibur, he's like a dude that will do these dimension slashes, and then when he's near you, he'll do a big, what do you call it, a shockwave attack, and occasionally he'll just randomly summon fires. And then when you deplete his health bar, he'll go down, but then summon 4 of those regenerating guys and start to regenerate health. Take out those regenerating guys as fast as possible to give yourself as easy of a time. Yeah, it's not very predictable where he's going to summon those fires, which is kind of cheap, Leslie. And then when he goes into the... He only revives himself twice. And then when he goes into the third phase, his shockwaves get bigger, his fire covers more area, blah, blah, blah. But then when you hit his sword away the third time, he's done. It's a lot of just make sure that you're, one, not standing in fire. I mean, that's just generally good advice. His shockwave attack is the easiest to dodge, and then make sure that you're attacking the regenerating guys immediately, because blah. Lightbringer. That's an item that I will be showing off in the next video. It's interesting, not really my cup of tea though. And there's a Savage Axe, which, the Tunok's weapon, which, whatever. I mean, I already have a much better item as it is, so I don't care too much about getting that hunk of junk. Finally. And really, you can just go right back through there. It's the it's about the same as manually leaving the dungeon yourself. But like, come on, come on. You played a video game in your life, haven't you? God, no, I've played more than one video game in my life. Let's go, Arsha. You Arsha mage. This battle is like virtually nothing. So what you do is you stand still and then wait for platforms to appear above you. Oh yeah, there's those guys with spears, and they're only vulnerable to attack when they're attacking you. You can see how they got the blue core there kind of glowing at that time. That means they're vulnerable to attack, otherwise they'll block all, like that. They'll block all damage, and when they hit you, they'll knock you a pretty decent way off of the platform, which, I mean, that's the entire thing. You're just climbing up to the top here. Same thing, those are there to stun you so that you can get hit easier by the crazy dudes. Their staff will occasionally come down and shoot bullets at you or create kind of a, like, anti-adventurer shield around. It's not the best fight in the game. And like, yeah, I could kill those knight guys, but I'm not here to kill knight guys. I'm here to climb the tower. Ever so slow. Having the ability to double jump and then also having 4 dashes does make it so that I don't have to stay here a particularly long time. Because, well, that doesn't mean that I have to stay here for the entire, you know, conceivable fight, because what I can do is just... Hey, come on. Because what I can do is I can just dash up the rest of the way pretty easily. And there it is. Hey, Arsha. What up? Oh, here, I kill one of these guys just for fun. I mean, it's like, you can't knock me down from this point. So yeah, how much health do you think she has? And it's done. Damn Skippy. Well, I can clearly see that there's more up there, so what are you hiding, Arsha? Oh. I guess that will have to be saved for Chapter 2. This area's called Deep in the Dungeon. And I don't know. Also, Adventure Success! Haven't seen that one since the tutorial. Hooray! Also, Arsha, you couldn't have prevented that. No? Okay. You're clearly the master of this dungeon. Like, I mean, okay. So it was all a misunderstanding the entire time. Or something. Yeah, nothing special. I mean, yeah, especially considering how easily I beat the crap out of you. A carpenter with an insane amount of short swords at his disposal. Well, not too much anymore. Hey! That's the name of the game, everybody! As they should be. Why is it still doing it then? Which, by the way, it doesn't stop doing that after you beat the game, so... Especially because there is, you know, another area, obviously. Well, okay, there's not another area, there's another boss. Hooray! I'm the best. Sure did. Don't you forget it. Yeah, although the dungeon still stole all of my crap. Like, what? Damn it. And here you get a good look at that horse again. Which, for being pixel art, surprisingly detailed. Thank you for make. So yeah, Dungreed. Good game. I'm just gonna say it. Liked it a lot. I got about 20 hours or so out of it, and obviously it's not quite done yet, but as far as like the lion's share of content that you would be seeing here, that's most of the game, yeah. Tumblebug. I have never heard of that before, but that's how I found out. It's like, oh, it was apparently a crowdfunded game. I did not realize that. I mean, again, it was pretty obvious when you think about the weird assortment of characters that are just kind of wandering around town for no reason, that you can't interact with or anything, and have very unique-looking sprites. I was thinking it was a developer thing, but okay, yeah, no. Retrospect is pretty obvious. Might as well give props to everybody here. I'll probably also be running the credits at the end of the next episode. Well, the final episode. Too, because hey, you know what? Sure. I enjoyed this game quite a bit. Oligard font. I have seen that in other games. I mean, you can probably go on to Steam right now and see it a whole bunch. Oh, who could have possibly seen this coming? It's as if it was incredibly obvious the entire time. And I'll see you for Chapter 2.